What's up guys, how you doing? Welcome to another video. So today I thought I would talk about something which is quite an interesting topic, and a topic which actually links in with my channel quite well. Lately I've done some videos talking about things like the new rumoured Canon R1. We've talked about the R6, we've talked about the older 7D Mark II, various cameras at all different prices. And that led me to think about a topic which is actually quite interesting. And it's that calculation that you sometimes have to do between the price of gear and the quality that you're trying to achieve. A lot of my channel, in fact my first ever video on this channel, was all about how you can photograph sports on a budget. And you absolutely can. We've talked about that loads on this channel. You do not need the top end pro gear to shoot sports and action. But at the same time, of course, all those pros out there are using thousands, tens of thousands of pounds worth of gear. Why do they spend that much money? Is it worth it? Do they need it? So I thought today we would talk about that price versus quality, and what is worth it for the price versus the improvements in your photos or video that you will get. Before we get into the content of that, I'm going to ask you guys to do two things for me. Number one, hit that like button because it helps me out loads on my channel and I really appreciate it. Number two, think about subscribing. Hit that subscribe button because it is right there. Give it a press for me. Stick around for my future videos. So to try to explain this topic a little bit, right? I get a lot of emails, messages, questions of people asking me, which camera should I buy? Which lens should I buy? I want to shoot some sports. Which would be a good camera for me to start off with? I've started shooting sports at my local school, my local college. What camera would be good? People will ask me, hey, I want to shoot some basketball. What lens should I buy? And pretty much every question I get like that, I always respond with, well, first of all, it depends largely on your budget. Because I could recommend somebody a lens that they could pick up for around £150, or I could recommend a lens that they could pick up for £8,000. It really depends on what they're trying to achieve. But the biggest thing, and something which I have had to spend a lot of time doing during my time upgrading my gear, is doing that calculation between how much money is worth it versus what improvements in quality will I get. Because unfortunately those things do not work hand in hand. If you buy one lens and then you buy a second lens which is worth twice the amount of the first lens, it won't necessarily improve the quality by twice the amount. Now, sometimes it will, right? If you are in the cheaper categories of cameras and lenses, sometimes doubling your money will double your quality. But when you get towards the higher end, doubling your money won't necessarily double your quality. And in fact, we're going to do a bit of a diagram to explain this one. So let's draw something and see if it helps you to see what I mean. Now look, if we imagine we've got a chart, right, where we have quality. So we're talking here about our picture quality, our video quality, whatever it might be that we want to produce. And then we're looking at the price of the gear, right? Two axis along. Now in an ideal world we'd have a straight line across these things, but that isn't always the case, and let me kind of demonstrate what I'm trying to say, right? So let's say for example we start out with the cheapest DSLR we can possibly find. We buy it used on eBay, it's old, it's an ancient camera. The price is going to be low, right? The price will be low. Unfortunately, also, it's quite likely that the quality would be fairly low as well, which means you are at this point here. What you could do is you could upgrade that DSLR. You could go from something like an old Canon 350D to maybe a 7D Mark II. Now that is probably going to double your quality, right? Double your quality. But unfortunately, it's also going to double the price. But that's good, right? You spend double the amount of money, you get double the quality. This is where this line starts to level off a little bit. Now, it would be perfect if this line carried on up here. The more money we spend consistently, the quality increases. However, unfortunately, that is not always the case. We have a line that kind of curves like this. And by that I mean we might upgrade our 7D Mark II to a 1DX. Now that costs us more money, but unfortunately, proportionally, the increase in quality that we get is marginal compared to the increase in price. Now that carries on going on from there, right? So something like a used 1DX, we could double the amount of money that we spend. Double the amount of money from a 1DX right now is probably going to be something like a 1DX Mark III. So we've doubled the amount of money. So we're probably all the way out to about here somewhere on our price. Our price has increased astronomically, but unfortunately, again, the increase in quality, whilst it's great, it is marginal compared to the price. You do not get double the quality for double the price. If we did that, it would be fantastic, right? We could commit right now and say, you know what, we're going to spend £5,000 on a camera. Great, we're up here and our quality improves equally to the price that we have spent. But unfortunately, that's not realistic. We want to go out and spend best part of £4,000 on a Canon R5. Great. It's probably going to be marginally better than like a 1DX2 or 3. It's going to cost a fair bit more money, but again, the increase in quality is marginal. So I suppose our job is to find the right place along this line, in line with our budget, versus the quality that we get. But how far do we go along this line before we decide that where we are on this line is enough? So there you go. Hopefully that kind of makes sense, right? I suppose what I'm trying to say is that if you go out there and you buy a camera like a used 1DX Mark I, it will produce some great photos. You've got good low light performance, great autofocus, good image quality. It will be way better than maybe your older DSLR, your Rebel, whatever you might be using. It's going to be loads better, probably twice the improvement. And it's only going to cost you around about twice the price. But if you then go again from there, if you go from a 1DX to maybe like an R5 or a 1DX Mark III, well, a used 1DX versus, let's say, a new 1DX Mark III, you're going to be talking double the price again, but it isn't going to double your image quality. And so the further up that curve you get, you have to really be making some tough decisions about, is it worth that money versus the improvement that I get. Don't get me wrong, quite often at the higher end of the market, it is worth the money. To some real top-end professional photographers, that little bit in quality could mean thousands of pounds worth of income difference for them. And in those cases, maybe it's worth it. But quite often, it's not, and that's why I will always encourage people to think about the money of the gear and to not forget about what can they achieve with the gear they've got now. Another question I quite often ask people when they message me to say, hey, what do you think of this camera? What do you think of that camera? I will ask the question, what is there right now with the gear you're using that you feel like you're not getting? Or you feel isn't good enough? Because if you can identify that, like if someone tells me I'm shooting indoors, my lens is only f4, so I really struggle, well then actually, you know what? Yeah, that f2 lens that you're looking at will improve your situation drastically. Then you've got something measurable that you can weigh up against that money to make that decision for yourself. The thing that I would always urge people to think about is what else could you do with that money? Camera gear, camera lenses are not cheap. If you're out there investing a lot of money, it's a huge amount. And what else could you do with that money? Sometimes people might be rushing in to buy the newest camera body, when actually, if they thought about it and realised that maybe for now, the camera body I've got is good enough, well, what else could you do? Maybe you could upgrade your computer, improve your editing ability, get that editing software, get a couple of lenses, buy that new tripod. There could be loads of other things you could do that might be more useful and might improve the quality of your work, much more so than just rushing in to get that new camera body. A direct comparison for me. Right now I'm using the Canon R6, really getting on with it, really enjoying it. The Canon R1 is going to be out soon enough, and it probably will be something like 3 times, even 4 times the cost of the Canon R6. The quality it produces won't be 4 times the quality that I'm getting with the Canon R6. So I have to do that maths and do that sum. Is it worth it for me? And the answer right now will be no, it's not. I'm happy enough with the Canon R6. I get good enough images, which actually I think are really, really good. And so for now, I'm happy operating at that level. I'm not going to invest the thousands of pounds more because it will not give me that improvement in my images. I hope that makes sense, guys. It's a bit of a topic that will vary tremendously, right? If you've got the budget and you've got the money, well, it's kind of an irrelevant conversation. But for a lot of people, and especially a lot of the viewers of my channel, sometimes we're working on a budget, and so that becomes so important. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favour, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.